See how dirty the track is offline. There's no grip out there at all, and for some reason Larry is well wide of the race line. You can see skid marks in the... Has he touched the inside wall? No, it appears not. But see, he's very, very wide here. He's way off the race line. He can't stop it. He's got his foot on the clutch. He's got his foot jammed on the brake pedal. It's got it all locked up, and it has slammed that wall. And he would be pretty upset and frustrated with himself at that outcome. The other question mark in my mind is, did it have a sticky throttle, or was it partially jammed? We might be able to resolve some of those questions later.
Well, we've certainly answered the question that there was no other cars involved. Was it human error? What was it? Maybe the Castrol Perkins Commodore teammate of Larry, Stephen Richards, can help us understand. Richo, you got us?
Yeah, mate, no problem.
Do you know what's happened so far?
No, look, I don't know. It looks like LP might have just gone in a little bit hot, and then he's locked it inside front. The impact with the side wall actually was nothing. Looking at the vision, it was the gate and the stand post where the gate locks. It looks like it's suffered the most damage.
Stevie, it's Neil. Did you hear from Larry? Has he given you any indication as to what's occurred?
No, we didn't, mate. I mean, obviously he was on the radio there, but we didn't actually catch it. And as you know, the cutting's a bit of a bad spot for reception, so probably that was the reason.
No suggestion of a sticky throttle or a jam throttle or anything like that?
No, mate, haven't heard.
Okay.
Haven't heard. No.
Okay, mate, thank you for helping us clear up that, Stephen Richards, and hopefully they can get that beast pieced up together in time for, of course, race day. So another replay here, and as we've seen, such a heavy impact, and I think we can hear Larry's reaction.
He said something about concentration.
Sorry, fellas, I lost concentration.
Human error. Lost concentration.
Well, if you run wide up there and get into that grey stuff, there is no coming back. You cannot get these cars back. They're approaching that bit of the track at an enormous close rate. You get back up to 190 k's on the approach to the cutting, and across that what we describe as the rock face, it's 165 k's. Pictures from the Holden Racing Team garage where the work continues on car one, and it looks to me like they're in the gearbox area. There were people in the cockpit before. It suggests to me they're dropping the gearbox out of that car, which could be the reason for the oil leak. Robbie Starr, Jeff Gregg, Mark Scaife.
I'm going to say Scaife doesn't look as worried as what we think.
It's a big deal. Look at the damage. This is a gate into one of the residential properties here at Mount Panorama, and this session is not going to be able to continue while the fence is in that state of disrepair. And
that big
Stevie was right. You know, as it rattled down the concrete wall, that wasn't a big deal, but it's this bit of railway sleeper or railway line, whatever that is there, that's the thing that has done the damage. The fence has folded back, but it was the little stanchion that has really done the damage on it.
Mark Scaife watching on as work continues feverishly on car one. Not what you want to see.
The Brains Trust going to work and the crew going to work on car number one. So drama as you'd expect. The mountain is a mess at the moment, especially at the cutting where Larry Perkins had big time impact in car number 11. Car number one, they've got their own troubles. We'll take a break from Bathurst, the Bob Jane T-Marts 1000 on your home of motorsport, the biggest weekend we've got of the year. Stay with us.
This driver, this team knows how to win at Bathurst. They've done it many times before, but it will take all that experience now to recover from a very nasty practice crash. A crash that, in fact, caused the cancellation of that very important fourth session. We have some news on that. We'll be able to bring you live the second half of that session. There's been some rescheduling today because it's very important for the teams to get out there and practice, in particular for the various co-drivers who've had very few laps in the car. Unscheduled session. Well, I saw Brad Jones, I think it was, behind the wheel, pulling back out onto the circuit, and the better electrical car is still stuck on that runoff area. It's a very tense time for co-drivers and indeed for the people in the pits. Yeah, Billy, that was
was a weird one, wasn't it? With Brad Jones in car 21 and then Dean Canto in car 66. Both of them got out of that okay. 16 and a half minutes remaining now in this session. The question is, as Marcus Ambrose goes right up close to the wall, the question is, Neil, what are they going to achieve in this? They're probably going to turn about 8 laps in total, given the time span.
Yes, one of the interesting things about this racetrack is that with the lap length, 6.2 kilometres and 2 minutes and 10 seconds, say, for example, on average, by the time you do an out lap, an in lap, deal with some traffic, the usable, workable time that you have is extremely short, narrow, so the opportunity to get things done is really difficult. So to answer the question depends again on where you're at in your program at the moment. We saw, for example, that Brad Jones went out in the Aussie Mail entry, but the plan was to put JB in the car late in the session, so Bradley would do 3 or 4 laps and then JB would get in. And what's happened with the way the day's unfolded, and particularly after Larry's incident with this unscheduled practice session, the continuance of the earlier session, is that now this becomes a warm-up for those that are in the top 10, which is now the top 9. It'll be something of a genuine warm-up for them prior to the actual shootout. Of course, for the other 30 guys, it's the final opportunity to really do any sort of decent laps where you can make adjustments to the car. And I've been down to the garages. There's still a lot of work going on to cars, so people try and sort them out. Oh, Bradley with the rear brakes locked on the way to turn 1 and decides that it's better to get out of the pedal and not damage the tyres. And he would not have expected to see the 66 car down there at all. And one of the things that's not apparent from television is just how bad your rearward and peripheral vision is in the cars, Matthew. Very, very difficult to see out of. So the first time Bradley would have seen that would have been almost when the yellow car was on top of him.
There's Paul Wheel for Team Brock. Pairing up, of course, with Jason Bright. In pit lane is a former winner of Bathurst, Thomas Mazira, with Greg Rust.
Well, Matty, their car with Paul Dumbrell at the wheel was the first one out in this session. What things are you testing? It's on a full tank of fuel, Thomas.
Well, we filled the car up in the morning and we had a sort of little bit of problems going over the bumps. You know, the car wasn't as nice as it was yesterday. Then we just do little changes, try to tune it in. You know, it's not a big deal, but you like to be very comfortable over 161 laps.
How are you enjoying being back behind the wheel? We saw you at Sandown, now of course here.
Oh, it's great. You know, it's not easy if you drive only like a couple of weekends in a year, and well, I still enjoy it. And as long as I get a good drive and a good team, then no, it's good. Like you do 5 laps, and after 5 laps you sort of think, well, it's pretty good still, and I love it. Yeah.
There you have it, boys. Sounds like Thomas can't complain.
Do you want me to do it? I'll have a lunge at it. He's Czechoslovakian, but he's spent a lot of time in the UK, and of course he's been here for many years. You walk up to Thomas any day of the week and say, how's it going? He goes, can't complain. Compline? Compline. He's a great bloke, a very good race driver. He's been on the podium here on many occasions, and he's just the right antidote for that number 8 car at Castrol Perkins. He's the perfect foil for Paul Dumbrell, who did a great job yesterday. His time in that car was exceptional, and I think they'll actually be a pretty good combination in this race tomorrow.
It showed us how competitive that last burst of times was in the qualifying session, because that time that Paul Dumbrell did was a real sexy time at the time, a 209.1, and everybody was quite happy with it. And then he ended up in 16th in qualifying, courtesy of the record books copping a pounding from Murphy, Scaife, Jones, or Bow and co at least. So car 75, the Anthony Trapp, Paul Stokel entry.
And it's Paul at the wheel at the moment. A bit of congestion here. Scaife's in car 1. This is the reality of this race meeting, dealing with traffic. There's a lot of it. 40 cars line up, 80 drivers, and much of the field are having really only, in some cases, their second run, certainly in the big game in V8 Supercar this year. Quite a few rookies and a number of guys that we don't see a lot of. And by contrast, a man like this is going to be driving at 11 tenths every lap with no margin, and you have to be wary of that. Here's the Cat Ford. This is in the braking approach to turn 2. If you've just joined us in our coverage of the practice lead up to the Bob Jane T-Marts 1000. Larry Perkins had an incident in the earlier practice session which necessitated a red flag. It was right in this area up at turn 4, the cutting. He made a mistake, got offline and punched the fence so badly that the session had to be shut down for that fence to be repaired, and so the balance of the session is now unfolding before you. And for the first time ever in the history of this event, we're now seeing the shootout occur late in the day, and that gives us the opportunity on Network 10 to broadcast it to you live, which is fantastic this year. And we've got a Strathfield replay here of a little bit of nonsense as one of the walk-on cars goes around. I think it's car 20 on the exit of the Chase the Wade Johnson car. Very easy to do, Matty, because the ripple strip on the exit there on the left is quite aggressive in its profile, and they do a beautiful job of presenting the track when we come up at this time of the year each year. But that means they repaint all the curbing, so it's all freshly painted in red and white, which makes it very slippery.
In this little practice session that we've got, Mark Scaife with a 2:08.64 is setting the best times. The countdown to this afternoon's shootout is underway.
This is Andy Trio in the second of the Kmart cars. Not his first time at the mountain, and a very, very experienced international touring car racer. But it's never easy trying to build up experience in a V8 supercar at Mount Panorama. He would not have had many laps in that car this weekend. Cameron McLean has been mostly behind the wheel. But another interesting point, gentlemen, as we look at 3 cars at the top of the timesheets in the 2.8s. Time is not as important, of course, as in qualifying. There's all kinds of agendas being run out there as we look at Maxie Wilson. But it's interesting to note that Paul Wheel, I'm pretty sure, put down a 2.8, third fastest so far in the session. And that's good news for Jason Bright because he was qualifying in the 2.9. So maybe they found some speed in that car, and it's also evidence that the driver pairing is strong.
Billy, the other point of significance, I think, in this session at the moment, looking at the times, and Ambrose has just gone quickest at a 2:08.41, is that Scaife's done an 8.6. Now, that will be representative of a genuine what you can do out the gate with cold tyres on your out lap, your flying lap, and then in. So he's effectively just knowing, and that's what I talked to Mark about earlier in the day, he likes to truthfully rehearse precisely what's going to happen in the shootout. So, and he said at that stage that he felt that a mid-8 was probably what you might achieve when you come out the gate cold. Greg?
Down here with Garth Neil. He wasn't actually expected to go out in this 20-minute session, but you've been out for a couple of laps, Garth. Tell us why.
Oh, we just went out to warm up the car for the shootout, basically. We didn't put in a quick lap just to get everything nice and warm because beforehand there was going to be a 5-hour break between our last practice and the actual shootout. So this 20-minute session was actually quite a good opportunity to go out and warm the car up. We didn't want to do a real flying lap because we've got our race engine in now, so we're just looking after that, and we'll give it heaps in the shootout and then see where we end up.
You've got a nice smile on your face at the moment. You feel quite good in this car by the sounds of it.
Oh, the car's fantastic, it really is, and we were 5th yesterday in qualifying before the shootout, and to be honest, I probably didn't do the car justice. I didn't drive it hard enough because the car itself is absolutely fantastic and it's really, really good. So whether it's good enough to do a low 8 in a one-lap shootout situation, I'm not sure, but went out this morning at a 9.2 on full tank, so I'm pretty happy with that. So looking forward to tomorrow.
Have a good run in the shootout, Gar.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty.
There he is, Garth Tander. Just to update you on a couple of other quick little pieces of information, guys. Some guys in pit lane here, various teams chasing aerodynamics at the moment. Oscar Fiorinotto has been on the radio at Team Dynamic. They're making some rear wing adjustments to those cars in the hunt for aero. The one to watch, though, Mark Scaife, that strip that runs across the front radiator, Neil, which normally has been quite high during the week. They've dropped it a notch. Perhaps that's helping Mark Scaife bank some good times right now. Aerodynamics.
Well, aero plays a huge role at this racetrack just simply because of the speed of the cars, and lots of little games are played with the radiator intakes and the brake ducting, the rear wing. This is Scaife. Let's have a listen.
Hey, mate, nothing's changed.
Because some of the teams are spending so much time on the rev limiter coming down the straight in 6th gear, they've elected to run full rear wing on the car in the effort to just make more grip and then re-trim around that. If you wander up and down the pit lane at the moment, Matty, the heap of cars have just got as much rear wing on them as you can get. Had a good look at the back of this car, but just looking at the angle from where I'm sitting at the moment, it looks pretty aggressive.
The lap before this one was